the pages of the World Wrestling Federation magazine, here's updates.
Party people in the place to be. What's going on? It's me, and Trapzilla. We just got finished watching The Last Ride Chapter 4. The next to last episode of The Last Ride. We're going to be talking... Okay, so let's get this out the way first. Taker immediately takes responsibility for that disastrous tag match, the Brothers of Destruction versus DX. He immediately takes responsibility for it, despite the fact there were 3 other people that were involved in this thing.
And I don't agree.
Neither do I.
At least in the highlights. I remember watching the match and going back to it because I specifically wanted to watch it.
Now, your take is going to be a little bit different from mine because you've seen more of these recent matches than I have.
Mm-hmm. And I went to see this match because I heard Triple H tore his pec
Off
or something,
the bone.
and that it was a horrible match because of that. And I wanted to see where the injury happened and him continuing to wrestle.
Right.
So I went particularly to go watch it because of that. And but we had an injury. We have 4 guys that aren't on full-time schedules.
That's right.
And that's not Taker's fault. It's
Right.
his fault for being in the match if he wants to take responsibility for himself.
Right.
But not for the whole match going bad. A lot of the bad interactions were actually Kane and Hunter and Kane and Shawn.
Right. Kane's stupid mask falling off, even though we all knew that like Kane wearing a mask at that point with the wig is stupid.
Yeah.
That whole thing was dumb, and Taker takes full responsibility for that. And to me, that kind of fuels part of the problem with Undertaker and his retirement, and what keeps him going and what keeps him, leaving, but then coming back and leaving and coming back is him taking responsibility for all these bad matches at the end.
Taking full responsibility.
Right, taking full responsibility.
Yeah.
We then go into how much Taker has lived the gimmick, or at least part of how much Taker has lived the gimmick. We see stuff like cutaways from guys talking about, we believe Taker. A lot of guys. Bray Wyatt even says our careers are based on us taking our personalities, turning it up to 10. Taker's already always at 10. It goes to a lot of that, but not everything, because I don't know if you remember this. I remember back in the day, I think it was like 98, 99-ish, when there was a rumor that Taker lived his gimmick a little bit too much for one Jenna Jameson.
I knew you were going to say that as soon as you said back in the day.
If you remember, and most people don't remember, Jenna Jameson actually came out as one of Godfather's hoes one night.
Really?
Yep, unmentioned. They didn't mention that was Jenna Jameson, even though she was the biggest porn star in the world, and they had a porn star gimmick on the show. They did not mention that Jenna Jameson was a porn star. She just happened to be one of Godfather's hoes, and the rumor has it that either Taker was trying to flirt with her, or they met at a bar, or something. I think she wrote about it in her book, that she got creeped out by The Undertaker living his gimmick at the time. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So they just conveniently forgot to mention that. They left that part out of Undertaker living his gimmick, but they talk about, some of the backstage stuff. We get to see some bloopers. We get to see Bruce Pritchard talk about that, which means that all that part is a lie because fucking Bruce Pritchard said it, and he's one of the biggest bullshitters in all of wrestling. Him, Hogan, and Slaughter are the 3 biggest bullshitters as far as on-screen personalities go. Let's not talk about the bookers.
No.
But yeah, the bloopers and the... So this is one of the parts of these documentaries that I've liked, is seeing the backstage shit.
Yeah.
Tell me what you thought of, like, seeing him...
Taker backstage, laughing.
Right.
That was interesting. If it were before this documentary came out, I would have been annoyed. Since the documentary came out and we have completely pulled back the curtain.
Don't blame me. He had it and he offered it to me.
I don't. My girlfriend does. I don't. Had this documentary not came out, I would have been highly annoyed by them showing too much.
Okay.
Because I like that his whole thing for the past 30 years has been the mystique of him. And now that we're seeing it, it's very sad to see him as a human. It's very sad. I don't like it. But I think for, if we're looking at it lightheartedly, to see the bloopers is kind of funny, but even the child in me doesn't want to see that. I don't want to see Warrior flub his lines. I don't want to see Hogan laughing at something. I don't even like it when they show, you've seen, and not that we're coming for you, but you've seen Harlem Heat in a couple of bloopers,
right,
where they're laughing and have to, well, let's do it again.
Right.
Even that thing the other day, Sting, following Sting for a day. Did you see that?
I did not see that. See, I'm not that interested in Sting.
See, I wanted to see it because that's my childhood.
Yeah.
But at least Sting kept in character backstage, even for the most part. I would say 90% of it. I don't want to see Taker flubbing those lines. I don't want to remember my childhood as this was a TV show, because I believed it as a kid.
Yeah.
I believed all of it.
Yeah.
So
I get that, and I mentioned to you as we were watching it, because Scott Hall is in this quite a bit at the beginning, and I mentioned to you how hard it is to see your childhood get old. Like, Scott Hall is Razor Ramon to me,
right,
but this is this gray-haired dude with a toothpick in his mouth now that used to be Razor Ramon, and I know that was 25 years ago, or almost 30 years ago now.
Yeah.
But fuck, man, fuck, man. So I get that. I know for me, it was interesting. I like seeing the backstage stuff, like him in the elevator with Razor Ramon. The clip that they cut to, that was interesting.
But I like that because he was still in character.
He was still kind of in character.
Fuck, Taker's in the elevator with me.
Yeah, what'd you think of the last episode where he tells DX to go fuck themselves? Got 3 words for them: go fuck yourself with Kane.
I don't know about that either.
Stuff.
That kind of annoyed me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm still being a wrestler for how long was I a wrestler? 8 years, and then watching it, I can still disassociate myself and enjoy it for wrestling.
Right.
I think I can understand how it must suck to be an actor or a producer and watch a movie and nitpick it to death. That's where I can only somewhat nitpick wrestling, where it's a complete botch, or someone that you see on TV medium is just horrible, and you're just like, oh, you're pretending, and those bother me. But there's times where we can watch TakeOver or something, and I am fully bought in the entire 3 hours,
right? And
I'm enjoying every single aspect of it. And I'm not going, well, he slapped his leg. It doesn't bother me. I'm enjoying it. If I were to seeing the guys go fuck yourself or something like that, it's like, oh, now you're bringing me back to reality, and I don't want to do that. The only documentaries I like seeing are almost kayfabe.
Even having been backstage yourself, having been, and you on both the indie and being backstage in WWE.
Yeah.
You still don't want it. You've probably seen those moments live backstage.
Yes, because I was a part of a lot of them.
And been in some of those skits.
Yeah, where you got to redo the skit and redo the skit and redo the skit, and I think at that point I'm looking at it as a professional, and plus the skits that I were in or witnessed live wasn't anyone that I really bought into anyway, like the Rybacks and the Adam Roses. It was just like, all right, we can have fun, we can goof around. I think if I were to see a Taker,
you mean you didn't buy into Kane?
I was there for practice. He wasn't there, was he?
Oh wait, no. Who was in the Inferno match?
Kane and Bray Wyatt.
That you were a fireman.
I was a fireman, local firefighter Kyle Webb. It was very serious though, because they were testing the fire, so there was no bloopers to be had.
Okay.
There wasn't even joking around, because we had the fire department and fake fire department there, with Kane and Bray Wyatt testing out flame retardant liquid, so they don't catch on fire.
Yeah.
So it's not a chance. Yeah, all seriousness. Daniel Bryan moments in the Shield where I'm there for those things, more serious than not. And it's everyone said it. It's the machine. I'm witnessing the machine in action, and I'm trying to get a job at that point. So not so much seeing 90s stuff and 80s stuff with bloopers and shit. I can understand your perspective. It can be fun to see and fun to watch. And they're just like us, but I don't want them to be just like us.
Right.
I want them to be here. The time Taker came and shook my hand while I'm eating and catering. Hi, my name is Mark. no, you're Taker.
Yeah.
No, be Taker. And this is going to come back to a point I wanted to bring up that I was talking to her about a couple episodes ago, and it was Taker's entrance for Mania. One of the long ramps they had.
Right.
And you hear Michael Cole over the thing. The mind games. This is such a spectacle. This is that. You get chills, and it was interesting. Now watching this documentary of your uncle Mark talking,
Uncle Dad,
with his high-pitched voice, his natural high-pitched voice, and then for an hour, and then in the last 5 minutes of that episode, him walking down, I think to face Roman Reigns, in full getup. I was like, oh, I get it. Now I get why people make such a big deal about his entrance, because we've never been awed by his entrance, right? Unless we were kids. In the recent last 10 years, we've never been like, oh my God, it's Taker coming down the ramp. Now I get it.
I was there for WrestleMania 21, but
that was Biker Taker, right?
No, that was Dead. He was back to Dead Man Taker. It was
21.
It was him versus Orton. That was a good entrance. However, I saw him get on and get off the
riser,
the thing that he coasted,
floated
down to the ring with, and that was kind of like yeah.
But here's where I can allow the commentators to speak. I believe they're speaking from the heart, and other wrestlers talking about it. If you know Mark backstage, it's Uncle Mark. It's him goofing around with Vince McMahon and him going, hey, and he's such a dork backstage. And then when he comes out, it's like, holy shit! This
you heard that. He said that.
Yeah,
he said that you were a dork.
I did,
Mr. Calloway.
I heard. And then it's a different person. And now it makes a lot more sense. We're like, oh yeah, that's two different people. Completely two different people.
Yeah.
And I think this episode showed a little bit more of that, unfortunately.
Right, but we're also getting near the end, right?
Of his career.
One would think.
I don't know.
They did mention one thing that neither one of us thought they were going to, and they mentioned the StarCast signing, which was a big deal, I think, a year or two ago, where StarCast, the big event that was surrounding, it wasn't attached to directly, but it was surrounding AEW. What was it, Double or Nothing?
I think it was AEW's first major pay-per-view.
Okay, it was.
So it could have been Double or Nothing.
Double or
All
Nothing.
Out or All In.
All In was different.
Was not AEW
right.
yet.
It was
just Cody Rhodes Presents.
Right. So I think it was Double or Nothing, and they actually go into it, and they actually talk about how Taker and Vince had a slight falling out over it, because Taker had signed with a social media brand, and they signed him for that, but that wasn't AEW,
right? And
they didn't mention AEW. But he says, why would anybody think I would go to this other company? Well, I mean, because, it's this new thing. But at the same time, it's like, nobody thought Taker was going to show up at AEW, or if he did, he would have been mean.
And it's not that, even with him going, psh, what do you think I'm doing, jumping ship? No one is really expecting that, but it's why are you doing a promotion attached to a different promotion? Promotional material for another promotion. StarCast was advertised by AEW with AEW's name plastered all over it. Almost like it's presented by AEW, but not an AEW organization. Quite. Yeah.
Right.
So and that just goes to show that Taker's just, as he admitted, out of the loop. He had no idea. He's like, I didn't know this was brought by another company. I was just told this was an autograph signing, and I'm going to an autograph signing.
Right.
But also, that was one of Taker's first, conventions he's ever done.
Right.
So
I think he may have done a couple of them, or some signings with Kane or something like that. Or
also, that's probably WWE or even Jack Specific or Mattel doing it.
Yeah, I don't remember anything. I've seen pictures of Taker at those kinds of events. But it was something different about that one. I think the fact that it was attached to AEW was part of why that was bigger and why that was different. Fast forward to them going to WrestleMania weekend for whichever one was the New York, New Jersey one recently. And Taker, Michelle, and their daughter went just to be there, not to compete or anything like that. He said, and I quote, he liked the fact that his daughter gets to see how her mom forged the way for women's wrestling today. Listen, Mark, Mr. Taker, Mr. Calloway. Can I call you Mr. Taker? I've expressed this opinion on Twitter before, particularly when you jump to your, and I get it, that's your wife. You jump to your wife's defense when WWE social media put a picture campaign of like the 45 or 50 of the most influential women in women's wrestling, and Michelle wasn't on it, and she got mad, and you got mad for her. Michelle McCool sucked. That's it. There's no way that she forged for any of the women. You kidding me with that stupid butterfly belt and then cutting the last good women's belt they had before whatever current incarnations in half with fucking Layla? Like she was an integral part of the Divas division at a time when everyone fucking hated the women's division. She was an integral part over Mickie James, who actually knew what the fuck she was doing. Or, I don't even think there was many other people there during that division. And I talked about this on my podcast with my homeboy Trey. But, no.
It was all Diva search contestants, right?
Yeah.
That was the main roster.
Basically.
And maybe Melina.
And then Melina and Mickie James.
And Mickie James, I don't even know if Mickie James was there that much at that time because she was doing like TNA.
Well, she was there long enough to do the Piggy James angle, which is the only thing anybody remembers from that era at all.
I forgot most of it, yeah.
So, forged the way for comment. Anyway, Batista comes on later on and says that he likes the fact that Undertaker wasn't at that pay-per-view, and at that Mania. And to me, he sounds like the first real voice of reason in this episode. What did you take away from Batista's?
I was very distracted by his yellow glasses.
Well, that's to hide his weird eye thing that he's had going on for the last 5 years.
So he was saying that Taker shouldn't have been at that Mania? He was glad he wasn't on the show?
He was glad he wasn't on the card because he was like, have a rest. Like, of all the people to not be on that card, he was glad Taker wasn't.
But if we backtrack, and again, because these episodes aren't back-to-back like they should have been, week after week, so we can keep track of what happened last episode, how long was his last match before that?
Before that was the Saudi match, I think.
The tag team match?
Bob, I think, or at least that's how they structured it. I think it might have been that Saudi match, yeah.
For Batista saying, he deserved a rest, I don't agree. If Taker's going to be active, if he's still on a Legends contract where he's doing 1 to 2 to 3 appearances a year, if you're going to have him do something, you're going to have him do it at Mania. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have him do it at Raw.
Right.
Because Mania is synonymous with Taker.
Right.
Now, if the match Mania prior to that was with Reigns, with Cena. So he even had his comeback Mania match, even though he wasn't very happy.
Right.
So in Taker's mindset, hey, now I have a chance to make up for the Mania match where I didn't get to do anything. I had a 3-minute match. Mm-hmm. So why not make it up that next Mania? If he's feeling good, he's feeling amped, he's feeling ready to go. So, no, I don't agree with Batista's statement. And I feel, if anything, Taker should do something if he's active on the roster at Mania. He can do a run-in. He can do something. He can build another feud. He can even build it at Mania. Mm-hmm. We can normally build it at Royal Rumble, build at Mania, build for the next year, and then really work hard for a year and do as many matches as you can so you're not rusty. No, I don't think he shouldn't have been there, especially since he was in the building. He's in the building, let him do something.
It was weird and almost, for Undertaker's mindset, it's almost cruel to have him there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost mean to have him there when he's not on the card.
And typically he gets ready 4 months prior anyway.
And
he has to really build up.
Yeah.
He has to make sure his surgeries are rehabbed. He has to make sure that his muscle memory is kicking in, and probably got that ring still set up in that old Sea-Doo mechanic shop.
Right.
What if he did all that? And then they're like, don't worry, you're going to do a run-in on Raw.
Right.
I mean, at least if he did a run-in on Mania, he would be disappointed that he did a run-in, but he wouldn't have this mind fuck of not being on the show. Mm-hmm. So I don't agree with that decision at all.
And there might have been different things that went into it. It might have just been a budgetary thing, because an Undertaker WrestleMania, I don't remember, but an Undertaker WrestleMania fee has got to be more than most other guys on the roster's WrestleMania payout.
And then they're paying Batista, who's now got a Hollywood paycheck.
Right.
He has to be owed.
Right.
Triple H, which is kind of a moot point.
Right.
Rollins, and I don't know if Reigns was there.
Hell, was that was the women's triple threat main event, I believe.
Okay, so we got Rodney. Not Rodney.
Well.
Rodney. Rhonda King. And Becky, who's not getting a good paycheck, and Charlotte is getting a good paycheck, but they're not getting as much as the guys. So,
I mean,
they could have afforded him. I mean, and he was still there. Like, he flew out.
Yeah. And
they pulled him from StarCast.
Yeah, they pulled him from StarCast. They did that. Who knows what backstage reasons he wasn't there for? I think it was more than just we don't have a place for you on the card.
And he did a choke slam on Raw, but that was it. I'm curious if they didn't let us know. Maybe there was an injury. Maybe there was something that he still hasn't fully rehabbed from.
They've been pretty honest about his injuries in this documentary. So
yeah.
I would think it was something else that kept him out.
I think it was weird.
Yeah. And Taker clearly wasn't happy just sitting there at Gorilla at all. You could see it. There was a clip of somebody hugging Vince after their match, and Taker was kind of off in the corner, and he was looking like.
Have you been to a show you weren't booked on? Backstage?
Indie show? Yeah.
Like
yes.
You still showed up, like Mach 1 or something, but you weren't on the show? You didn't do anything?
Well, there was that infamous Mach 1 one, but we won't talk about that.
But it's uncomfortable.
There was, I think we've been to some shows together where they knew that we were workers, but we just weren't there. Wrestling from Hollywood.
And we were there but not booked?
I was there but not booked.
Okay.
That one show I went to in that place where they tore out the chairs.
Okay.
I went there just to kind of extend an olive branch and kind of but I was backstage.
But I can assume you can relate. It's uncomfortable, especially sitting in Gorilla. Jesus.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird feeling because everyone else.
But there's a difference. Like, I wasn't expecting to get on the card.
Sure.
Like, I brought my gear anyway, because you always bring your gear. But I wasn't expecting to go on the card. I think Taker kind of expected to show up and then say, hey, he didn't bring his gear either. So I don't know. That was a weird set of circumstances.
Yeah.
That should have been explored a little bit better, a little bit more than some of the highlights they had from some of the matches, which we'll get to in a second. Let's see. Then all of a sudden, Taker's looking for redemption against Goldberg. In Saudi Arabia. They pitched the idea to Taker to face Goldberg in Saudi Arabia, and he's looking for redemption from the disastrous tag match with DX. And boy, oh boy, who would have thought that he couldn't get redemption against a guy who was a brick 20 years before? In the hottest part of the world when both guys are over 50 and injuried out and fucking aged out and all this other shit.
And in Goldberg's case, not being in the ring for what, 2 years?
Was it 2 years at that point?
Since he won the Universal title.
Was the last time him dropping it to Brock?
Yeah, at Mania.
Wow. Then so 2
years.
Completely off. Not even.
We may be wrong, maybe 1 year, but 1 or 2.
But not even that part-time schedule.
That's a long time.
Yeah, at that age.
At that age.
And all that shit. Yeah.
And he's still in good shape. He still looks good for his age.
But he's not ring shape.
He's not in ring shape.
No,
at all.
not at all. Not at all whatsoever.
And even when he's in ring shape, he's not in ring shape.
Exactly.
So,
who thought that this was another? See, we saw this before with the Brothers of Destruction versus DX. Man, and Taker said this in the show before. Man, what a match that is on paper, and we're gonna be out there with our friends and everything. 20 years too late.
Yeah, and no one asked for Goldberg versus Taker.
20, and if they did, it was 20 years ago.
There was so much fantasy booking you hear, and it's always been Sting and Taker. I've never heard, I want Goldberg and Taker to wrestle.
Right, or it would be the top 5 from WCW versus the top 5 from WWE, or F at the time. But it was never Goldberg versus Taker. You're right, and it was 20 years ago. If it would have been.
Yeah, I don't understand why if we're looking for someone to do a redemption match that you can't get someone that if you can't compete at your level that can carry you. And supposedly that should have been Reigns at Mania, and even that didn't really work that well.
No.
But at least you have one guy that's going, and one guy that's not.
Right.
It's not two guys that can't go right now.
Right.
For whatever reason. Concussion or not, still two guys that can't go.
Right. We saw the backstage at Raw while Taker's trying to build up to Goldberg. For whatever reason, Lance Armstrong and Matthew McConaughey were there, and you know, I guess they were huge fans of Undertaker for some reason. They built the Goldberg match up against Taker like it was epic, and we saw highlights of it with the beats and the boom, 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 and the big epics. Like, oh, this whole thing was fantastic until Goldberg accidentally speared himself into the corner. No, word around camp was that he concussed himself backstage hitting his head on the fucking door like an idiot. So, what are you trying to pull here, WWE? Like, we all knew before, like, anybody who knew anything about that, even if you saw it or not, knew that the match was shit from get-go. It was shit from Jump Street. Why are we pretending? The exact same way that you pretended that The Undertaker versus Triple H in Australia was this epic battle. Why the fuck? We have the network. We're watching this on the network. Why are you pretending like this wasn't a complete and total fuckfest from the beginning? From the beginning. Who the fuck are you fooling? Thoughts?
It should have never happened. Yes, the build-up. They were playing the build-up for the actual match, like, and yeah, we all saw it. But I know they were playing like the hype packages that they played on Raw and SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you, I said, because you even said it live, like, why are they building this up? Why are we watching this right now? Because well, the music's going to cut and it's going to go down, and there's going to be, you know, oops, like all this happened.
But they did that during the highlights of the actual match up until the spear in the corner spot. Like, they played it off like this was an epic match until Goldberg hit his head.
Here's the thing, even if it was, no one's going to remember that.
Right.
So they shouldn't have tried to pass it off as anything that it wasn't. And also now watching this, if let's say you don't have a big wrestling fan, a current wrestling fan, watching this documentary at a friend's house, they go, oh, let's watch the match. Now you have the match on demand.
Right.
And that we can see because we're watching the network, like you just said. So yeah, I still I don't even know why they booked the match, let alone advertise it, let alone pretend that it was a good match for the first quarter or half or anything. Why even book the match? Oh, well, because the Saudi Prince wanted it.
Yeah, that's
He's
why.
getting whatever he wants.
That's
He asked for Yokozuna in
Correct.
Royal Rumble,
Correct.
so they just went and found some other sumo wrestler.
yes.
and
That's
fucking
exactly
put him in there.
right.
He didn't know what the fuck he was doing, so I guess money talks.
Yeah, no shit.
And bullshit walks.
Yeah, especially when they can draw and quarter your fucking employees and nobody will ever find them again. Undertaker talked about how fans, after that he's like, oh, fans talk about it. Oh, he's too old. Maybe he shouldn't be doing that. Really, it's up to me to decide. This is that stubborn mule shit that we've seen from Taker before. We've heard either this line or some variant of this line in this documentary before, where he's like, only I can decide. I gotta know when I hang. I hear what the fans are, I hear people talk, but it's like, it ain't up to them, man. It's up to me. No, Taker, no. It's not. You should listen to that occasionally. Like, maybe there's something to that talk. Like, in the sea, and listen, in the sea of wrestling fandom, there are tons and tons of people that are like, Taker's number one, and if you ever say anything about Taker being old, they'll be like, that's Undertaker, man. Wrestlers! I've seen wrestlers that have been in the business, that have had injuries, talk like, Taker's old, man. Nah, man, that's Taker. I understand who it is, but I also understand Father Time has caught up with him. Like, he catches everybody.
Well, you get one moment Taker's going, I don't want to be a parody of myself. And in the very next moment, he goes, yeah, but I'm going to decide when I go out. I think because they're two separate clips, you have the realistic Taker after a bad match going, man, what am I doing? And then you have the Vince talk. And I think Vince hypes him up so much that he gets that bravado back and just goes, no one's going to tell me I'm done until I tell me I'm done.
Yeah.
So, obviously, it could be with any two best friends, and I think in Mark's words, Vince is his best friend, or one of them. You know, if I wanted to get back in the ring and I have my doubts, and you say, you could do it.
I've told you that.
Right. So, but then when I go do it and do a couple rolls, I fucking puke my guts out. So, there's a weird thing, you know, your friends are your friends, and when your friends tell you can do something, all of a sudden you think you can. And so with all the videotape we have of this documentary over this course of time, which is a long time, we're seeing a lot of different ups and downs with him.
Part of that, and that does kind of float into the next thing, where Taker talks about how the wrestling business is all he knows how to do. And what does he do when he gives up the only thing that he knows the answers to? He's talked about, like, this is the only, I know the answers to this stuff. Although, you know, really, realistically, over the last few years, he hasn't taken the right steps for those answers. But he's saying that this is the only thing, the only business he knows how to be a part of.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile that as a man, as a person, but really as a man, like, this is all I know how to do. This is what I've been doing for the last 35 years at this point, or more? Because he had a career before WWF.
Yeah, he had some WCW stuff. He had some...
So, you know, how do you reconcile that? But at the same time, it's like, you're not an accountant that's about to retire.
Right.
You're the fucking Undertaker. You can and you talked about going to the Performance Center and being a trainer. You can also...
Right.
You can also act. You can also be the big badass tough guy that's on any set somewhere, like your other wrestler friends have, like Big Show or Austin or Rock or whoever the fuck else.
Or he doesn't have to do the new generation. He can do the current generation and be an agent. There's so much role now for old wrestlers that have names for themselves.
Right.
I'm not talking about Hillbilly Jim that has to go sign autographs to make ends meet. I'm talking about Arn Anderson's, and Flair doesn't seem like he wants to, but Dean Malenko's.
Arn's been an agent for like the last, 20 plus years?
More, yeah. Taker could do that because not only is he approachable, as I know firsthand, but if he's got this mind for the business and he loves being there and he loves being backstage and he wants to be a part of it, and it's not out of the ordinary for him to not be around. A, if you can't do the travel, you got NXT. But B, if you can do the travel, be an agent.
Right.
You're there.
Right.
And then you can still show up every now and then, which is interesting enough. You can still do a pull apart. And when Taker comes out to pull apart,
I don't want to see the Undertaker pull apart.
You don't?
No, I don't.
I think that would be cool to see it.
I don't want to see Taker pull anybody apart. Like, it killed. Like, I never had a mystique of Sergeant Slaughter at all in my fucking life, but seeing him pull people apart in the early 90s clips, I'm like, wow, that's weird. Like, wasn't he champion? Like, wow, that's weird. Like, I don't want to see that.
Well, the thing is, he's not 30 saying, what do I do?
Right.
I might not have enough money to last me.
Right.
He has the money.
He's got the cat. He ranches and shit.
Yeah, he's got money. He's going to have licensing deals for the rest of his life. And I can understand not missing performing. I get it. I'm there. You're there. But you don't have to also go break your neck to perform.
Right.
For these schmucks.
Right.
Especially the ones in Saudi Arabia that are just gonna fucking...
I mean, that's a truckload of fucking money, though.
Okay, but...
I get it. But
he has, he has it.
But you've already got a truckload of money. You've already got a truckload of money.
He's not hurting in any way, shape, or form.
No.
The only hurt he has is what Triple H mentioned, is chasing the dragon.
That's right. That's his hurt. That you're right. You're not wrong. Triple H does go into that, and then we start seeing other legends that have retired and are at peace with it. Guys like Austin, guys like Michaels, guys like who else did they mention? They mentioned somebody else. Austin, Flair, although, anyway. Yeah. Other guy, Foley, who was absolutely at peace with it. He made, this.
So he went back to it too.
Not on a full-time basis. You knew. Oh, he did.
Yep.
Fuck, you're right.
After he retired from WWF. And,
You're right.
And then came out of retirement and did Mania. And then went back into retirement and then did a bunch of general manager stuff and for a long time. And then done. TNA comes and he goes back full bore.
I forgot he did.
With Sting.
He
in
did.
a match that you still have to watch.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But anyway, Taker says something about how he mentioned to Shawn, like, I should have left with you. Well, probably.
I think after the 2 Hunter matches, we could have called it a day.
Absolutely.
I think he didn't have to leave with Shawn. I think it was good that he did that, and then I think with Hunter coming back to defend Shawn's honor, I think they both should have beat him in the Hell in a Cell, and that would have been the perfect ending when they walked out arm in arm.
Because and I mentioned this slightly in my last Taker review, there was that was essentially the end of an era. It was the end of the Undertaker has phenomenal matches on a regular basis era.
Yeah.
And the beginning of the spotty ass good match, terrible match, good match, retire already, good, retire, retire. That sporadic shit.
Is now in this documentary, the matches he's had in this documentary, it's not, hey, you have to go see this match. The only solace he's getting is, I felt good. I don't need surgery.
Yeah.
I can do it again.
Yeah.
But what happened to, that was epic?
Right.
And why isn't, if I'm not delivering epic anymore, we're done?
Right.
Because Shawn, and in my opinion, the Hunter matches, those are epic. And you have to go see those. No one's going out of the way to see Extreme Rules.
No.
Even though he felt good.
No one's going out of their way to see him versus Bray Wyatt a year or two later.
Sadly.
No one's going out of their way to see him and Cena. No one's going out of their way to see him. Matter of fact, people are going out of their way not to go back and watch him and Roman.
Yeah, he even had him and Punk. And I haven't watched that match more than the Mania I watched it on.
Yeah, we watched it. We watched it live.
Yeah.
At some fucking wrestling club or whatever with Maria Menounos like 3 rows behind us for some reason. But that was it. That was the last we fucking saw of it, and I don't necessarily need to see it again. I remember it as Taker's last great WrestleMania match, or really good WrestleMania match, and that's it. That's all I even remember it for. So yeah, you probably should have left it around that time. Then we see the preparation. He says he needs to prepare for the next chapter in his life as he gets ready to do the Extreme Rules match, which he said he already agreed to when he did the Saudi Arabia match. We see the Extreme Rules footage, and once again they pump up this match like it was an epic battle of the ages with Taker and Roman versus whoever the fuck was on this side. And it wasn't Shane and Drew, yes. And it wasn't an epic battle, but it was a much better performance than we saw from Taker before, and it was the best match of that night, primarily because that show sucked as a whole.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get to see that, and as we wind this thing down, here's the crux of the whole thing. Here's the nut of the whole thing right here. Taker goes backstage, talks to Vince, tells him he's done. Tells him he's done to his face. And then Vince does what Vince does and try to sell ice to a fucking Eskimo and says, oh, we'll see how you feel later, pal, and pal, and pal, and pal.
What do I think about it?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But and you asked me why Taker did it there. I think it was...
They're being
gorilla right as the show was still happening. Like, they were shooting the fucking Seth promo right behind him. It's because I think Taker didn't want that long conversation with Vince. He wanted to tell Vince, I'm done right there.
Yeah.
And have that be it. Because he felt good. Remember, this was another one. He felt good at the end of it. And remember, even I said, that was the best Taker match we've seen in a minute. Now, mind you, it was a tag match. He had a lot of help.
Yeah.
But, still.
Yeah.
It was a good note to end on, right? Your thoughts?
Well, I was shocked to hear him say I'm done at that point.
Yes, that's huge.
Only because we know there's more matches.
At least one. Was it only one?
I don't know. That's
I think
what
he
we're
only
trying to
did,
figure out.
I can't remember.
I think it might have just been Mania.
I think it might have just been Mania.
However, I also think that's a hell of a weird note to go out on. For him to say, I'm not feeling it. Here's what I think he meant, because they were subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not feeling it. He's like, that was good. He's like, yeah, but my body's telling me no.
Right.
But he said it weird too, but I almost wish we would have wrote down what he said, because I interpreted it as that didn't feel magic. Like, I interpreted it as, I don't love it anymore. That's the way I interpreted it. Not interpret it as, I'm in pain, I'm hurting, it's hard to go. I interpreted it as, this wasn't worth it. I'm done.
See, I interpreted it the other way. I interpreted it as he was talking more about, like, he felt good at the end of it, but he knew that it's like when you have the house all to yourself for the first time, or not the first time. It's like when you have the house all to yourself and you got your laptop open to the porn sites you want to go to, and you got everything right there. You got all the fucking fetish shit. You got, the fetish shit brought up there. You got whatever you use. If you got you need the lotions. You got whatever there, and you're there, and you're like,
sandpaper,
and you're like, this is what I'm gonna do all day long.
Yeah.
And you do it the first time, and you're like, actually, I'm done. Like my body, that was great. That was fantastic. But my body's telling me I don't need to sit here all day.
I think you're saying the same thing I'm saying. I think we're on the same page with different analogies.
No, that match, he felt that magic. Like, it was still there. You were saying it wasn't magic. I feel like he still felt that, but he was satisfied enough in the results to let it be what it was.
But wouldn't that be weird? Let's say that was his last match.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we had an official retirement, Hall of Fame induction, everything.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fucking weird for that to be his last match. And I think even Taker knows
to be his last match,
his legacy on a tag team middle match, mid card match.
To be his last match, yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've had 4 or 5 different Taker main event classic matches that should have been the end of it, and they weren't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how many times can you pull that fucking trigger? You know what I mean? Like, even as we were watching it live, I was like, because we watched this the Extreme Rules thing live, and even watching it live, I was like, let that be it. Like, let him, like, for fuck's sake, let that be the end. If mid card, whatever the fuck, Extreme, some stupid B show, whatever the fuck, let that be the end of it, so that we don't have to. Because here's the other side of it. You then have to have another one. And that's the problem with The Undertaker for the past 10 years, that you then now have to have that big send-off. And you have that big send-off, and you do the fireworks and everything, even if, or it doesn't go well, you gotta do it again. Or it goes well, and you're feeling good, so you gotta do it again. Like, that's that roller coaster. You just gotta fucking get off that shit.
Well, the thing is, we now know the future.
Right.
So we know what happens next.
Mm-hmm. Right, and it actually ends with a preview of Taker and AJ. Actually, it ends with him walking down the hallway with AJ and him like stopping the camera. Let's talk for a second.
I love that.
Yeah, that was
I know
good.
you hated it, and we were making fun of the TV. Stay away from AJ. Stay away from AJ. No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't go in that room.
Yeah, because here's the thing, though. I hate that we know the future. If we didn't know the future and we saw that cliffhanger, I internally would be excited, because that's what I said about the Goldberg match. You need one guy that can go if you're going to work with this Taker.
Okay.
And AJ's that guy.
He is.
Michelle Cool even said he's the best there is.
Right.
I even stole his finishing move. He's so damn good.
Yeah, you sure did.
Except on Twitter, we're going to say I did it better.
Right.
So, but if we didn't know the future, I would say in ring, we can have a good finale. I would say we could not replicate Shawn. No way.
Right.
Because AJ is the Shawn of today. He's the HBK of today. Mm-hmm. But we can't replicate it because Taker can't do that.
Right.
But it doesn't mean we can't have AJ bouncing all over the place.
I was gonna say Taker would have to base. Taker's entire thing would have to just.
He wouldn't
be
even
base.
have to base. He could strike. He could choke slam, because AJ can jump. Mm-hmm. And he can punch and he can throw without having to throw AJ into a good match.
Right.
Because AJ could Ric Flair this match and do all the work.
Taker would have to bump minimally.
Minimally, yeah.
Minimally.
And he can still go to a knee because it's not even believable. That's why Brock and AJ was great. because Brock couldn't do shit. He didn't have to do anything in that match, but it was great.
Right.
And just the thought of him beating Brock was exciting for us. Now, it doesn't matter who would win or lose an AJ versus Taker match. And at that time, we had Bullet Club that could intervene and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It sucks that it happened the way it happened. You and I are on the same page, I think, for this, is that we got the cinematic thing that happened because of its AJ. If it was Undertaker versus, give me another old guy, Hunter even, Sting, in a cinematic match, I'll allow it because they need those crutches. AJ doesn't, and I think we missed out on something
here's
semi-good.
See, here's where we differ a little bit. I think Taker lucked out on the virus and the shutting down of everything. Because if it was live, there's a 100% chance.
There's a chance.
There's a 100% chance of us getting botches like we got with Roman live.
A chance.
We lucked out, or he lucked out rather, that it was that way because it forced them to do something like the Great Boneyard match, which I still was not a fan of. Like
that's what I'm saying.
Like there are some that are like, oh, this is great. It's wrestling. Wrestling is becoming. Well, anyway, but it lucked out because it made Taker look better than he probably was at that point or has been for years because they allowed him to have the cuts and allowed him to have the breaks. He still looked old at points.
Yeah, he still looked around.
But it allowed him to not botch a move so thoroughly as he would live, which you can't hide.
So then we can speculate, right? Because we know the future. We saw that was a match. And I just said that tag match would have been the sourest note to go out on.
Okay.
You said, you're right. Even though watching it live, you said, let it be it, let it be it, let it be it, done. But do you agree that his last match should be something more noteworthy?
Yes. Okay. It's a conflicting thing because yes, it should, but also we've gotten those opportunities. We've gotten more. Undertaker's had more opportunities to go out on top than anyone in the history of professional wrestling.
Right.
The only other person I think who's gotten more chances to go out on top or close to is fucking Hogan. Mm-hmm. Because Hogan just keeps showing up places, and or at least did before his back, and they just gave him, they let him go out how the fuck he wanted to go out or whatever the fuck. But even then, he only had 3 chances to go out on top.
Well,
no, 2. WWF, right, in '92 when he tried to go out on top, and then he came back a year later. He didn't get that opportunity in WCW. He just walked out on them. And TNA, right? So 2 versus Taker got that opportunity for that grand swan song fucking how many years in a row?
Right.
And didn't take it? At what point do you just say, just fucking leave already?
Well, now we're in the realm of this could have been it. Because if we're looking at it as everyone wants to ride out the right way, he got to ride out on a bike,
literally,
with a light show behind him, with explosions and lasers and motorcycle, and
it was the main event. And
because a lot of people loved it and we didn't, that may be his exit. It wasn't the main event. Drew finished the show.
Of that first night, because it was 2 nights, remember?
Oh, it was 2. Wow.
Yeah.
I forgot WrestleMania was 2 nights.
Yeah, it was 2 nights.
Jesus Christ.
So right, that could have been his swan song.
That could have been it. And if we're going to look at it in the theory that I put it in, where you shouldn't be leaving on a tag match, that's at least a decent way to go out.
Right.
Although I think, given the history of pro wrestling, you should be going out losing. So,
true,
and if anything, buried, because he's a fucking dead man.
Right. We both had some variant of that idea in our head. I always thought if he was to go out, it would be at WrestleMania while he still had the streak, and as many of his former victims as they could scrounge up all come to drag him to hell.
And when they did, there was a moment in the 90s, 93, Taker was gone for a long time. Was it when his orbital bone got crushed?
No, because that was 95 and that was Mabel. I think he just had time off.
Well, there was a time where
he wasn't at WrestleMania 10.
The rumor as a child was that he died.
Right.
And I believed it. And when
that was after he didn't get his orbital bone crushed by Yokozuna. He got buried in the coffin.
It was in the coffin.
Rumble 94.
With all the guys?
that put him in?
Rumble 94, all the heels.
But there was a rumor that I completely bought in about, and I don't know where this started because there wasn't an internet to go about.
Right.
But it was a rumor that he died.
Not to the extent that.
And I was like, yeah, but he's dead. And when he came back, I was shocked, like legitimately shocked.
Mm-hmm.
But now, in today's day and age, especially with him being on Instagram and Twitter, that's not going to work.
Right.
But yes, I think the character that Undertaker is not a bad idea to go out getting buried, and I mean like physically.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a very live match. I fully did not expect AJ to lose in that match, and then to come back to life 3 weeks later.
Right. Because they needed him on another show.
Yeah. But so this may be it.
There is speculation that this is it. That this last episode is either going to announce that he's officially retired already, and that was his last match, or to announce his absolute last match coming up at this coming Survivor Series.
Do you think it'll ever be real, or do you think he'll do a Mick Foley and a Ric Flair and keep coming back?
I think he's already done that. I think that's what we've lived through, is him doing those stop-start returns.
Because we thought Roman Reigns was the end, because he took his hat off, took his clothes off.
But he thought that. In the documentary, he thought that until he saw the match again.
Yeah.
So, this is the best chance for him to officially be gone. Because you get that cinematic match that he could use as his fucking demo reel for Hollywood if he wants. He wins the match. He goes over. He buries AJ and the club. We never hear from them again. He rides out in the sunset with this laser show behind him, fucking Pink Floyd laser show behind him, and the music that they'll never be able to use again because they're fucking stupid and don't get the licenses rights and shit. And drives on down that highway of life, and that's the best chance we have of him having that cinematic, that not even cinematic, but that storybook ending now. If he doesn't take it now, or if he didn't take it now, he shouldn't and is not going to get it again. Because if he tries to do it in front of a live crowd, he's going to fuck up again. Or his body's going to give out, or he's going to stumble, or he's going to look old, or all this other stuff. If he tries to do that in front of a live crowd again, it's not going to work the same way. And we've all believed it when he cried wolf all these years.
Yeah.
This is the best option he's got at this point. They could do one last one, like I mentioned, at Survivor Series would be his 30th year, his official 30th year.
This year.
At this Survivor Series.
November, yeah.
Or they could leave it where it is, and I'm all for leaving it where it is. Or they could do some other shit, because they've done that other shit before. Who the fuck knows? Yeah. I think we'll know more in this next episode.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think they'll... What's weird is, like, his main interview chair that he's been in, I'm curious when that was filmed. Because him talking to us through the camera, which he's been doing a lot, I'm curious if at the end of it he's going to look in the camera and tell us, and I'm done. Because he's more honest in that chair than in any other clips.
Right.
So I'm curious where they're going to go with it. I don't think he's done. I think it'll be another one. Because if not, more people would have tuned in to the network, knowing that that was his last match. There was no rumor. There was nothing telling us this could be his last match, ever.
That is the other part of it. Vince wants to make more money.
Yeah, that would be the marquee.
That's the other part of it. That is the other part of it, because they did do that Taker's last tour thing at New York City for Madison Square Garden that one time. So that is the other part of it. That is the other part of it, is if they can make the bank off of it.
Now, if that is his last one, I'm fine with that. He doesn't have anything left to give.
Right.
And not in the sense of he doesn't owe us, because he doesn't. But I don't care about that. I don't care about owing the fans or not owing the fans. I'm saying he physically is just not there anymore, and I understand that. With age hitting you, sometimes you just can't do it. And with the amount of injuries and replacements of his body that he has, we don't know how much of his body is even him anymore.
Right, at this point.
So he can't do it. So that's okay. accept it.
Right.
That's fine. I liked like his feud with Lesnar a couple years ago. That seems actually probably longer ago now than I'm remembering. But like a SummerSlam match, and I think they had two. I think one was Hell in a Cell.
I think
maybe
one was Hell in a Cell too. Yeah.
It would be cool to see like the Fiend, and even that could be cinematic. But it's fine if he ends going out against AJ. It would be my dream opponent for him to retire on, not a TNA guy, which is how I view AJ. It would more be a WWF guy, or at least a homegrown WWE talent. But that's me being nitpicky. So if it's over, that's good. If they're going to do another one, maybe they'll do it cinematically, and they can disguise it and make it entertaining. But I don't watch wrestling for cinematic matches.
Right.
Because
exactly.
it's too easy to be like, well, he didn't take that chokeslam off the roof.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And I don't like that.
Exactly.
That was annoying. They did it on NXT's weekly show with Velveteen Dream doing a top rope elbow to the floor and edited it, and I was like, but we want to see the whole thing. We want to see the replay over and over and over.
The cool spot is when Fatu came off the top rope onto the floor on Raw live onto some jobber, and it was so cool it was used in all the production material for the next fucking year because it was for real this big ass Samoan flying into and the camera was right here flying into your living room. That was cool.
Yeah, at least in the realm of everyone saying wrestling is fake, at least it's not that fake.
Right.
Where we're doing cut shots to take a bump.
Right. In that case, I can just fucking watch Arrow.
Yeah, I don't like that shit.
Alright, so that was this. I didn't see when they said, I think you may have cut it off when they said the next one was coming out. But whenever that is, I'll have the next review for you. Party people, I need you to tell me down there in the comment section what you thought about this episode of The Undertaker Last Ride. Do you think that the next episode is going to show us that The Undertaker is officially over? Or do you think that's going to be the announcement at the end of it? Or do what do you think in general? Do you hate both of us for hating cinematic matches? I don't care. But you can spout off about it down there in the comment section. Anyway, like, share, subscribe. Hit the Patreon if you please. Patreon.com/surreal469. That's patreon.com/surreal469 to help keep the lights on at the party. I got a podcast with my homeboy Trey. Comes out every Thursday on Spotify and Podbean and YouTube. Links will be in the description as well. And until next time, cheers.